Hi, this is Dick Kostelnicek. Today I'm going to talk about keyway broaching. A keyway broach is a form cutting tool that cuts a slot into the side of a round hole. Now before we get involved with broaching, let's consider the keyway itself. A keyway is usually a square slot with its side indicated by the letter E. Half of the slot is cut in the side of a round shaft of diameter S. The remaining half slot is cut into the side of the center hole of an object mounted on the shaft. For instance, it might be a gear. The recommended key size for several ranges of shaft diameters is indicated on this slide. A keyway broach cuts a half slot in the side of the gear's center hole. In a separate operation, a horizontal or end mill cutter produces the shaft's mating half slot. Note that the location of the key's half width occurs at the side of the key slot rather than at the top of the shaft. An extra amount of metal, indicated by the distance M, must be removed from the shaft during the milling operation. After the gear is placed onto the shaft and the two half slots are aligned, a square metal key is inserted into the slot, thereby ensuring that the shaft and gear rotate together. Let's see where cutting internal keyways fits into the general category of broaching. In the home shop, we're usually concerned with the processes shown in the blue boxes, namely internal, linear, push, keyway broaching. Other common types of broaching include surface broaching, rotary broaching, and contoured broaching. An internal broach is a metal cutting form tool. It creates a well-defined finished shape, such as a key slot or maybe a spline, within a pre-existing hole. As the broach moves through the work, it cuts away chips using a sequence of teeth going from coarse to fine. Successive teeth rise above the preceding ones. This allows the broach to self-feed into the work. The workpiece is usually held stationary while the broach is pushed through the hole by a press. Chips are cut by each tooth and carried away in the gullets or deep recesses between successive teeth. Now here's the tooling that you'll need to cut a keyway by the broach method. The arbor press presses the broach through the workpiece. A slotted bushing fits snugly in the hole, centers the broach, and acts as a backstop as the broach feeds itself into the workpiece. Shims are used for multiple passes of the broach. They increase the depth of cut beyond what can be achieved with just one pass. Finally, you'll need a broach of proper width. Here's how the bushing, keyway broach, and shim are assembled as the broach is pushed through the hole in the workpiece. A broach can cut most metals and composites that are softer than Rockwell 35. Copper-based metals can cause the sharp, aggressive teeth of a new broach to drift deeper into the slot than required. A thinned shim on the last pass can solve this problem. Soft metals, like pure aluminum, can cold weld to the broach's teeth and produce a poor finish in the keyway slot. Make sure that there are two or more teeth in contact with the work at all times. If you're going to cut a keyway in a thin washer, do it on a stack of them. The bushing should support the broach from top to bottom of the hole. A broach partially backed up by a short bushing may snap off due to severe flexure. Place no side pressure on the broach or it might break. Always align it with the ram's travel. Place a catch container beneath the broach. Don't rely on your hands to grab it as it drops out of the work. Brush out the cuttings from the gullets after each pass of the broach. Relubricate the back or spine of the broach where it contacts the shim after each pass. All sliding and cutting surfaces of the broach should be lubricated. Lack of lubrication allows friction to induce chatter. That's the start-stop motion as each successive tooth bites into the workpiece. It's undesirable to use flood lubrication in the home shop, so a thick grease liberally applied to all broach surfaces works well. The grease will hold the chips in the broach's gullets. Hence, they will be carried away cleanly without being recut in the confined space by the following tooth. For steel, use any grease, oil, or even a water-soluble oil. Broach brass dry, or use water to cut down on dust. Use a vacuum cleaner to pick up the graphite particles while broaching cast iron. Use an aluminum tap cutting fluid on soft aluminum to enhance the finish.
I'm going to broach a second keyway into this pulley. It has a 5/8 inch bore. I'll be using a 3/16 inch keyway broach. I'm going to set the broaching up on this arbor press. You'll notice that I've covered the broach liberally with lithium grease. Any grease will do. The idea here is to cut down on friction and prevent any chatter as the broach is forced through the pulley. Now I've set the collared bushing into the pulley's hole and started the broach into the slot in the collar. At this point you should make sure that the broach is perfectly square with respect to the ram's travel. Now here I'm going to start moving the broach down, and this will be the first pass. And one thing you should make sure of is as the broach goes through that you have some place to catch the broach, and in this particular case we have a little piece of carpet sample in this drawer to prevent the broach from hitting the concrete floor. Okay, I've removed the broach, and you'll notice that there's quite a bit of cuttings between the gullets of the broach. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to sweep out those cuttings and then re-lubricate the backside of the broach and also lubricate the shim, which I'll use to advance the broach for the second pass. Okay, now we're going to make the second pass, and you'll notice that I have a shim backing up the broach, and this allows it to move further into the metal of the pulley, and there we're done. Okay, the keyway fortunately has stuck to the bottom of the ram, and I'm going to now remove the collared bushing. There's the collared bushing, there's the shim, and there's the second keyway hole opposite the first one.